Hi, this is Swan from Swan Amity Studios, and today we're here to talk about the Amity Glove. This is a free motion quilting glove that I designed and created in order to make free motion quilting more comfortable and more precise, especially for those of us using a domestic machine for our free motion quilting needs. Now let's put on a glove and take a look at what the features of the glove are. First of all, we're starting with an entirely adjustable wristband made out of neoprene and closing with a Velcro strap so that you can fit it to your hand and not have it move around on your hand. So even though a nice elastic wristband can be comfortable and can feel good, it's not going to maintain as close a fit, especially over time, as a regular elastic wristband degrades or the elastic loses its stretchy value. In this case, the wristband is also made from a nice neoprene material. And I'm going to slide a little mat underneath my hand here, so I'm working on a black surface, and rather than have that not show up, we're just going to take a look at that on a white surface. The neoprene wristband allows you to have full flexibility in your wrist, moving in all directions, while at the same time supporting your wrist with a fairly comfortable, feel-good material. You'll notice that it also starts at the base of the thumb bone here, so when your wristband begins to wrap around, you'll know it fits properly if it starts up here in the thumb bone instead of here in the wrist. The benefit of that is that you're going to receive support all through the wrist, ahead of the joint, and all through the joint, so that the joint is actually fully supported while you're wearing your gloves. Now, what else I like about the gloves, when I put them on, I'm also going to have my gloves breathable. Now, I live in Arizona, so it's warm for me year-round, but no matter where you live, you're going to have a warm season, or you're going to be quilting indoors, which is where most of us are quilting. And I like to be using a sports-like mesh, so I make the joke, of course, that quilting is a sport, but that's not entirely untrue. We work actively. We are busy all day while we are moving our quilt, and often moving our quilt is a little bit of a job. So using a sports-like mesh, like a batting glove, like a golfing glove, makes a big difference in how your skin breathes in your gloves. You don't want to sweat in your gloves. You shouldn't want to be uncomfortable in your gloves. As we turn the glove over, we're going to be taking a look at these two little pads in the gloves. These little pads allow you to put your hand down in a comfortable, natural position, so that when we normally quilt without gloves or with a less supportive glove, often we find that we have to stretch our hands out, we have to make connectivity all throughout our fingers and through our palms, or we find ourselves up on those fingertips and actively engaging all the musculature in our fingers and across the breadth of our hand. What this does is cause muscle fatigue. Over the course of the whole day, all of the muscles in your fingers, the muscles in your palm, the muscles in the back of your hand become tired. They're actively making effort to maintain control and to push fabric using your fingertips. The padding in the palms of your gloves eliminates that necessity. Instead, allow your hand to relax on the cushion in that palm area beneath here and across those fingers in this portion of your hand, allowing the natural curvature of your hand to be more easily maintained. Instead, those little cushions are going to do the job that active musculature would be necessary for if you didn't have those little cushions. We're going to put on our other glove. We're going to take a look at the fact that when your gloves are on your hands, your fingertips that are black fingertips are going to be touchscreen sensitive. Now, if you're running a touchscreen machine, this is a great way to be able to change anything that you need to while you're working. If you need to stop your machine, if you need to change out a bobbin, if you need to adjust a stitch or change any of the features on your machine, you don't need to take your gloves off to do that. Now, for those of us using mechanical machines, I use a Juki 2010 or a Juki 2200. And it's not necessary to make any adjustments to the machine with a computer for those mechanical machines. However, I'm doing recordings, I'm checking in on Facebook. I just want to answer my phone, for heaven's sakes. Or perhaps I'm doing something where I'd like to watch a little bit of a video and then test that stitch on my project. I don't want to have to take my gloves off as I move back and forth between an iPad and my machine. So in this case, touchscreen sensitivity does me a benefit whether I am on a regular mechanical machine or I'm on a computerized machine. We also have two fingers open on the glove, and the nice part about that is that two issues often come up for different types of quilters. Some quilters are going to feel a little overly encased in their gloves. However, my students report that they don't have any problems feeling trapped in their gloves or feeling cut off from their project in their gloves. A little too encased can sometimes make you feel uncomfortable. My other principal reason for this in the glove was that most of us, as we move through a project, are more likely to feel things in the quilt itself. If we're having a tension concern, if we are having a little problem on the bottom of the quilt, maybe we're experiencing nesting, anything that's happening that may be a problem in the quilt itself is more likely to be noticed if you have what I refer to as skin in the game, something that you can actually touch your quilt with. Even though these gloves are a high performance glove and they're not thick, they're not going to be as effective as your skin for sensing a problem in your project. In addition to that, they provide excellent airflow. Once again, we don't want to be hot in our gloves. I like to make sure that even though the mesh is working for me, I have two fingers out on both hands, and that's keeping me nice and cool as well. The overall comfort of your gloves, let's take a look at how that works for us. I have some quilters come to me after they buy a pair of gloves, or if they've bought a pair of gloves from me, we talk about it in the booth. And one of the principal things that's coming up is I like to quilt on my fingertips. These fingertips are too slick to do that and move the quilt effectively. You'll see you can move it pretty well, but if you're getting into a tight spot or you're dragging a significant portion of the quilt, or you're in the middle of the quilt in the heavier sections of the project, that's not going to work comfortably for you. Fingertip quilting, though, as we just mentioned, is an all-active musculature concept. There's no way to quilt on your fingertips without engaging all of the muscles in your fingers and all of the muscles across the back of your hand and quite a bit of the muscles in the palm of your hand. If you're a fingertip quilter and you get to the end of your quilting day, or you find that your quilting day is short because your hands get tired, I want you to toss that notion away. Now, I was a fingertip quilter before I designed these gloves, and I want you to know it did take me a full week to get used to not doing this and instead doing this. Notice my hands actually look fairly relaxed, and that's because they are. When you relax your hands, when the muscles in your hands are relaxed, you're going to find that that also relaxes a significant portion of the muscles in your arms, allows your shoulders to come down and away from your ears. Relaxing your shoulders allows your neck to relax, allows more of your upper back to relax. At the end of the day, I no longer feel like I need a hand massage, but I also don't feel like I really need a neck massage, a back massage, all those other kinds of things. I'm mostly much more comfortable at the end of my day. Now let's see how the gloves drive fabric, because that's the important part of what we're up to. We always want to make sure that what we're doing with our quilt and with our gloves, anytime we purchase a product, we want that product to be effective. So we're going to go ahead and make a little additional portion of our border. Here I am, we're going to do a wiggle, and then we're going to fill in those wiggles that we're making. And I'm going to keep my hands very relaxed in my gloves while I'm working. I've already buried my initial knot, and we're going to start with that wiggle all the way down to the end. Now, as I'm wiggling, I am not creating a whole lot of pressure with my gloves. I'm just letting them easily guide the fabric through the machine. Let's come over a little bit and come back up the quilt. Wiggling easily. Again, I am not focused on making any pressure with my gloves. They're going to do a great job all on their own. And as I begin to make the shape inside the wiggle, again, the quilt gloves are doing a wonderful job of moving the fabric. You'll notice my hands aren't tensing up. I'm not having to put any additional pressure into my fingertips. We're moving comfortably, easily. There's no rubberized surfaces in the gloves. We're using a manufactured suede, which means it's also a vegetarian or a vegan product. And in addition to that, they're washable. If you're looking to wash your gloves, the best thing to do with them is to close the Velcro on the gloves, drop them in with your regular delicates on a hand wash cycle or on a delicate cycle in cold water. And when they come out, you want to hang them to dry rather than putting them in the dryer. I like to hang them up in my studio the night before I am going to do a next project. And I know that they will be dry and ready to go the next day. And that process of not putting them in the dryer will make sure that the connectivity in the tips of your fingers will last longer over the course of the lifetime of your gloves. Now, I just switched out to a new pair about 6 months ago, and my old pair was still functional. I'd been using them for about 2 years. I quilt very actively, so that's not a problem for how long your gloves are going to last. They're a well-stitched, well-made product. And the only time I wash them is when they start to get a little bit of discoloration or they pick up a little bit of dye from a product. If I'm working with a heavily dyed blue or green batik, or in this case a black, it's very likely sometimes that dye will come off on your gloves a little bit, especially if you're not a pre-washer. And in those cases, you may end up needing to wash your gloves. Hand dyes will do the same thing. Keep in mind though, it's easy to wash them. It's easy to keep using them. The Amity glove, Amity means a little love. Give a little love to your quilts. Give a little love to your hands. And try the Amity glove this year. Thank you so much. You can find us on swanamity.com. That's SWANAMITY.com. And the gloves in 4 different sizes are available on the tools page. We hope you have a wonderful day and happy stitching!